What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and J College Football Show. Today is the Week 5 preview. So, typical episode today, news and notes, my freshman, Power 4 freshman quarterback rankings, previewing each game, and then giving my favorite bets at the very end. And we actually do have some news to get into today, so we're not going to waste any more time. Let's have a good Wake and Bake sesh, and let's get right into it. All right, let's get into some news from the week. So, SEC, they finally announced the three annual opponents for each team. Quite honestly, not a whole lot of complaints with how they went about it. For the most part, they tried to keep all the rivalries alive, and obviously there's some that they're going to have to get rid of, but most of those were, I guess you could call, newer rivalries. Um, some teams got a pretty good draw, at least historically speaking. So Tennessee, and this can't really come as a shock, but Tennessee got Vanderbilt. It's the rival. They got Alabama. Can't really get rid of that rivalry. And they also got Kentucky. Again, not really a rivalry that you wanted to end. Those are more long-standing rivalries than, Florida or Georgia even. But where that they kind of lucked out with that one is historically, Vanderbilt's not a very good team. Kentucky's not a very good team, at least historically. So if that could like if Vanderbilt in a couple years goes right back to being a pumpkin again, this bodes well for Tennessee. Florida kind of also got a good draw. Again, looking historically, South Carolina, is an up and down team, and it's not very good this year. Had a good year last year, but then wasn't very good before that. They also got not Vanderbilt, Kentucky, which again historically not always a very good team, and then Georgia. So I would say of all the SEC teams, Tennessee and Florida probably got the best draws, especially since they didn't get themselves, or I mean each other. Sorry. Um, I also sneakily like Mississippi State's draw because Ole Miss. I mean, it's throughout the record books. It's a rivalry game, so either team could win that any single year. They also got Vanderbilt, which again historically not a great team, and then they have Alabama. So I sneakily think Mississippi State also got a good draw. A couple things I did like. We get Texas and Texas A&M every year. I love that, renewing that rivalry. I really wish we could get Bama and LSU every year, but it's hard to. If you gave LSU to Alabama, then Bama fans would riot because they have to play Auburn every year. I'm trying to think of who the other big one that they have to play. I can't even remember now, but they would have had a ridiculous draw. They would have had definitely the toughest draw of any team. So unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We don't get LSU and Bama every year, but it would have been pretty cool. Um, but in the end, I really don't hate anybody's draw. Everybody, I feel like they did a pretty good job at keeping it even, keeping most of the rivalries alive. No complaints on my end. Who knows, SEC fans or SEC teams or whoever, they're still going to find something to complain about, I'm sure. But I have no complaints. The ACC has agreed to move to nine conference games, which, let's be honest, we all knew this was coming. As soon as the SEC finally caved, it was a matter of time before the ACC did it. They are well, as far as we know, they are doing the same as the SEC when it comes to playing nine conference games and then having to schedule a 10th Power 4 opponent. Um, don't know any other details of how they're going to do the scheduling or how they're going to do it. More, they're probably going to do it the same exact way as the SEC. Let's just be honest. But they are moving to a nine conference game schedule. Again, we knew this was coming. And then John Mateer, a lot of people's Heisman favorite, my Heisman favorite for next year. Uh, but he is out for. I mean, I've seen 3 weeks. I've seen possibly a month. I've seen he's probably going to miss 2 games, possibly three. They do have a bye this week, so they lucked out there. Um, but he injured. He broke a bone in his hand. I've seen thumb put out there too, but a bone in his hand. Uh, so he's going to be out. He had to have surgery on it. Not sure when he's going to return yet, but he broke it in the first quarter against Auburn, and then played the rest of the game with a broken bone. What a baller! So yeah, not a ton of crazy news. some news that we were expecting to get at some point or that we knew was coming, like the SEC annual opponents. We knew that was coming. We knew it was on its way. Um, moving on though, Power Four freshman quarterback rankings. We got some changes this week. Jaren Kiave Sangapulutele. It was time. I had to bump him off the number one spot. He's still making great throws and has a great play here and there, but teams are starting to get pressure on him, and when you get pressure on him, he has not looked great. So I do have him dropping down to the two spots. You could argue that's a little too high still. We're going to play this week by week. Right now, he's at number two. Coming in at number one and making a significant jump, I have Malik Washington. I mean, I just keep waiting. He hasn't played out of this world where he's making these crazy throws and all of this stuff. He doesn't have these crazy stats or anything. But you keep waiting for him to have a bad game. And so far, 4 games into the season, he hasn't had a bad game. And you know what? We got to celebrate that. So he comes in at number one now. CJ Carr at 3, Julian Sayin at 4, Drake Lindsay at 5. I've got Bryce Underwood at 6, Bear Bachmeyer 7, Cutter Boley 8, and then bringing up the rear as he has every single week, Zane Flores. Um, let's see here. Oh, other news we got to talk about. I completely forgot about this because I did put out a short video. Guys, Mike Gundy's fired. Uh, what a sad way to just end your career. To just didn't even get the opportunity to retire or step down or anything. He was fired 3 games into the season, and that sucks. Um, I mean, we can't be that surprised. Let's be honest. It wasn't great last year. Hasn't been great this year. There's been rumblings that there's some unhappiness behind the scenes, whether it's from him or other people involved in the program. Tough to see him go out like that. He is an absolutely legendary coach. Would have liked to have seen him go out on his own terms. Can't always happen. I understand that. Uh, Bittersweet because it had to happen. It just sucks that it did. All right, let's get into previewing games, starting with Friday night. Number 8, Florida State at Virginia. Virginia is a 6.5 point dog at home. And I knew this was going to be a possibility, but it's still kind of shocking to say. Virginia has been impressive compared to what they've been the last few years under Tony Elliott. I guess the shocking part is that they've been impressive. I expected them to be 3-1 going into this game, or roughly. Um, I did not expect them to, because let's be honest, they wish they had that North Carolina State game back. That's a game that was very winnable. They even had a shot to win it and just couldn't quite do it. Chandler Morris with an ugly interception. But they're 3-1. They could be 4-0. And I did not think it was a chance that they would be that close to 4-0. I figured 3-1 would happen, but I did not think 4-0. And they were a play away from being 4-0 heading into this one. Now, Florida State dominated Alabama week 1. We all saw it. We all witnessed it. We all loved it. But since then, they've done nothing else. They've played East Texas A&M and Kent State, I believe. Kent State is the worst team in college football, or bottom 5. Let's just put it that way. And East Texas A&M is an FCS team, so obviously Florida State's going to dominate those games. But here's how badly they dominated. They combined for 143 points over those 2 games, so they're averaging, 70 points a game, while the other 2 teams combined to score 13 points total. In those 2 games, Florida State averaged 750 yards per game, and the other 2 teams combined for 403. Just absolute domination, which you expect from a good team. You expect a good team to dominate those types of teams, and that's exactly what Florida State did. So they are a good team. How good are they, though? Because we saw Alabama go down to them and then has also done the same thing and just dominated since then against bad teams. but still dominating. How good is Florida State? They're not probably going to find out this week. As I said, I think Virginia's been impressive, but not that impressive. Uh, they've impressed me, but they're not to the point where I think they're going to pull off any sort of upset. Now, Virginia's defense hasn't been the greatest, so that's not a great start. I think you're going to need a good defense to take down Florida State as of right now. Offensively, they have been pretty good. Chandler Morris has, I'll say it, he's been great. He's had a few throws that he wants back, but he's been great, at least for Virginia. Uh, I think total, they are a top 20 offense so far this year. Now, we're 4 games into the season. Some teams are only played 3 games. But I'm pretty sure they're top 20, which did not see that coming for Virginia. Um, I said it before the season. If Virginia wants to make a bowl game under Tony Elliott, this is the year to do it because the schedule is very winnable. And season, and we're 4 weeks, 5 weeks in now. That and some people's schedule, before the season, you're like, this is a very winnable schedule, and then 3, 4, 5 weeks in, you're like, never mind, that schedule just got a lot harder. Virginia's hasn't. If anything, it's gotten easier just based on how well they've played so far. Schedule is very winnable. They're not going to win this one, but I do think they make a bowl game this year. Now, Virginia fans might be upset about that because that probably means another year of Tony Elliott, but I really do think Virginia makes a bowl this year. Number 24, TCU at Arizona State. Arizona State is a 2.5 point favorite at home. And this is not going to come as a shock. TCU has a great offense, especially their passing attack, which we just saw Arizona State, who does not have a good pass defense, take on another great passing attack last week and actually didn't play terrible. Sawyer Robinson had 250 total yards, which that is a small amount compared to what he's usually putting up. So maybe they're figuring it out in that secondary. So maybe it is not a guarantee that TCU is going to torch Arizona State through the air because Baylor sure didn't. Now, one could argue turnovers didn't help that. So there is that, and I understand that. But to hold Sawyer Robinson at 250 yards is impressive. I think if Arizona State played Baylor again, I do think Baylor wins that game. I think TCU is Baylor, but with a better-ish defense. Give me TCU in this one. Houston at Oregon State. The only reason I'm even talking about this game is I have an agenda with this. So Oregon State is bad. We all know it. We've all seen it. It's a dumpster fire. They have a terrible defense, a terrible offense. I'm pretty sure they're bottom like 10 to 20 in both offense and defense. It's not just like one side of the ball is bad. They're both terrible, equally terrible. Um, so Houston wins this game, no problem. And when Houston wins this game, and I'm saying when, I'm calling my shot. When Houston wins, I'm not saying they have to be in the top 25. I'm not going to go that far, although I would like to see it. They at least deserve to receive some votes from the AP poll voters, from the AP voters. There's no way that I looked last week, they did not receive a single vote, which is fine. I'm pretty sure last week was a bye week for them. So, I mean, it makes sense. But at the same time, they're 3-0. If they make it to 4-0, they better at least receive some votes. I feel like that's not too much to ask in this situation. Okay, Saturday games. Starting with the noon slate. Rutgers at Minnesota. Minnesota is a 4.5 point favorite at home. Oh, I don't think I said the spread for the last game. Oregon State is a 13.5 point dog at home, by the way. What? Oof, that's pitiful. All right, Minnesota, 4.5 point favorites at home. Um, Rutgers is not the team that you typically think of when you think of Greg Schiano and Rutgers. Offense is the strength of this team. Ethan Kaliakmanis is having a career year through 4 games. Run game has been solid, I guess, until they faced Iowa. So basically, when they faced lesser competition, Run game was good. As soon as they played any sort of defense, sucked. Uh, the running backs combined for like 20 carries and 3 yards per carry, or a little over 3 yards per carry. Not great. Now, Gopher fans are going to be not shocked to hear this, but if you are not a Gopher fan, just know that if Rob Smith is your defensive coordinator, your defense is probably going to be bad. Uh, Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Rutgers defense is bad because Rob Smith is their defensive coordinator. They just allowed 30, well, I guess 31 points, I guess, because special teams let up one touchdown. But 38 points to Iowa, that's not great. Which gives me faith that even without Darius Taylor, even without AJ Turner, and I don't know that Darius Taylor's playing or not, PJ Fleck will not tell us until 2 hours before game time. So Darius Taylor very well could play. I'm just gonna assume that he's not. Uh, Even without those two, there's no way that Minnesota doesn't win this game. There's no way that that offense doesn't thrive. And here's a stat to look at just to give you if you're still like, well, I don't know, Rutgers could still win. Ethan's been playing great, yada yada. He might be motivated, playing his old team, going back to his old stomping grounds. Fair, valid, whatever. Here's a stat to look at. PJ Fleck, and we're not counting first game of the season. First game of the season doesn't count because it's really a crapshoot. You have an idea of who's going to be starting for the other team or kind of what they're going to run, but you don't have any current film. It's hard. I'm not counting game one of the season. I am counting any game off of a bye and bowl games because you usually have at least a couple weeks to prepare for an opponent. So when PJ Fleck has more than 1 week to prepare for an opponent, not counting first game of the season, he is 12-4 as the head coach with an average margin of victory of 10.3 points. So 10 points a game, 10-point victories at least, or at an average. 12-4. Now take out bowl games, he's 6-4, but 2 to 3 of those losses were begin. I think 2 of those losses were like the first 2 seasons, and then since then he's gone 6-2, coming off of a bye. Uh, that's phenomenal. I think that's a stat is important. I think that stat tells me everything I need to know about this game. Minnesota is going to win, and they're going to win by at least a touchdown. Rutgers just allowed 38 points to Iowa, like I mentioned. Minnesota's going to score. I'm not going to say at ease, but they're going to score. Uh, USC 21 or USC's the 21st ranked team in the country going to number 23 Illinois. Illinois is a 6.5 point dog at home. Now, I think that's a little bit of an overreaction to just the fact that they lost to Indiana last week. I don't know if you should be giving, because if you really think about it, usually if you're the home team and you think it's a coin flip, you're going to give the home team 3.5. For them to be 6.5 point dogs means you think that USC is a potential two score favorite on a neutral field. I don't necessarily buy that. Um, Now, don't get me wrong, USC's offense has been phenomenal this year. They've been unstoppable. They've even been decent run. They've been great running the ball. I'm not even gonna say decent. They've been great running the ball. We obviously know that they're great at throwing the ball. It's a Lincoln Riley offense. They're always great at throwing the ball, but they have been great at running the ball too. And this offense, they are pretty scary. Uh, Defensively is where I have my questions though. They allowed Purdue to throw for 300 plus yards and move the ball pretty well. Now, yes, Purdue threw the ball away from or fumbled and threw interceptions, gave it away like 3 different times in the red zone. I understand that, but they still allowed Purdue to throw for 300 plus yards, and they allowed Michigan State to score 30 plus on them. Where Michigan State, I don't know if they necessarily had any business doing that. Uh, Defense is a concern for me as the season goes on. I'm just going to say, I've heard people say defense is better, the defense is better. Sure, I guess. It's pretty hard to be worse than what they were, but I still don't think they're great. I think, I do think the Illinois offense is just as good, if not better, than Michigan State's. I really do think they're probably better. Michigan State may be better at running the ball, but overall, they're at least just as good as Michigan State, who just dropped 31 on USC. If I have to pick a winner in this game, I am going to be picking USC. but I am not sold on them being a top five team in the Big Ten yet, and I am not sold on them being a touchdown favorite on the road. I can't buy that. I'm not saying I'm not gonna just spoiler. This is not one of my bets, but Illinois to cover might not be the worst idea, just because I don't know that USC is that much better than Illinois on the road. Also, USC might be, if you followed me the last couple of years, you know that originally I was a big Ole Miss hater, thinking they're not as good as the record shows. They're going to lose a game, they're going to lose a game, and then they just kept winning. Last year it was Mizzou, same sort of thing. This year that might end up being USC. They are trending towards the team where I'm like, they are not as good as the record shows, and then they'll just keep winning and proving me wrong. Um, Speaking of a team that seemed to be better than their record, and or at least I thought so last year, and then they just kept winning until the national championship game. Notre Dame, the number 22 team in the nation, going to Arkansas. Arkansas is a 4.5 point dog at home, which good for Arkansas. Only 4.5 point underdog. Notre Dame finally won a game. Good for them. Everybody, give them applause. It was against Purdue, so it's really not that exciting. Arkansas, it's not gonna be a shocker to anybody. Just lost a heartbreaker to Memphis. But this Arkansas offense, again, no shock here, is very good. Their defense, not so good. Um, and when you look at Arkansas defensively, it is bizarre because in basically every major statistical category, they are nearly identical to what Purdue is defensively. All the way down to I think points allowed. Purdue has allowed 3 more points a game than Arkansas, but it's like passing yards allowed, they're off by like a yard. Rushing yards allowed, they're off by like just a couple spots. It's insane. They're basically the exact same defense. And we just watched Notre Dame beat Purdue 56-30. Now, I would say the biggest difference between Purdue and Arkansas is the offense. Arkansas's offense is significantly better than Purdue's, or at least in my opinion. Actually, I'm not even going to say that's an opinion, that's a fact. Arkansas's offense is better than Purdue's. There's just no way that they're not. Now, when you think of Notre Dame, you think of a great run game and a great defense. Run game has been pretty good. Defense, on the other hand, has not been good. They have not been good defensively this year. They have allowed 27 or more points in all three games. And last year, in 16 games played, they allowed 27 or more points twice all season. They've already surpassed that in the first three games. Meanwhile, Arkansas has not been held below 30 points scored in a game this season. And they've played 4 games. Played Memphis, they played Ole Miss. They are going to score. There's no way that they're not. Now, they also might give the ball over a few times. They're prone to do that from time to time. But Arkansas is going to score in this one, and there's no way that there's no way that Notre Dame is going to be able to stop them from scoring. I don't expect Arkansas to win this game, but I do expect them to score a lot of points. All right, final game of the noon slate: Louisville at Pitt. Pitt is a 4.5 point dog at home. Last time we saw Pitt, they lost an absolutely heartbreaking game to West Virginia in overtime. It was a game that, when you looked at that game, they should have won. Just shot themselves in the foot so many times. Turnovers, penalties, not able to complete drives, turnover on downs, whatever it is. Just could not get out of their own way. And then we got Louisville, who is 3-0, but they're the best team that they have faced is James Madison, who kept it close for it was a one-score game until about 3 to 4 minutes left in the game, and JMU was leading for at least a good chunk there. That concerns me. I'm not gonna lie, and the fact that again the best team they faced is JMU, who is a good team. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna say lucky to come out with a win, but I mean it was a little too close for most of the game there. To have Pitt be a 4.5 point dog at home seems a little bit of an overreaction and a little bit disrespectful. Now, when we look at these teams, Pitt has the better passing attack. Louisville has the better run game, but then Pitt has at least a better run defense, and Louisville has a better pass defense. which one's going to break? Is it the offense or the defense, and for which team? I don't think I don't think Louisville should be as favored as they are. I am actually giving the slight edge to Pitt in this one. All right, afternoon slot. We got Ohio State, number one team in the nation, heading to Washington. Washington is an 8.5 point dog at home. I mean, this is a potential trap game for Ohio State. Washington's offense has been great so far this year, albeit against very bad teams, but Jonah Coleman has been exceptional. Demond Williams has been great, but again, against very bad teams. So let's see how they do against this very good Ohio State defense. Now, at this point in the season, a lot of people would have thought that Texas was Ohio State's biggest test, and so far this season it has been their biggest test. But some might argue that this test is even bigger than the one against Texas was. You got Washington, who is great at home. I think it's 22 straight wins at home. And you got Julian Sayin in his first road game going to a hostile environment. He played average to above average against Texas to open the season, has absolutely balled out against bad teams. This feels like I'm overreacting, but this is Julian Sayin's biggest test so far this year. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and say it is his biggest test so far this year because it's on the road. It is a hostile environment. I'm curious to see how he does. I am not going to go so far as to say that Ohio State loses because personally I do think they are going to win this game, and I feel like Washington may keep it close for a half, maybe even three quarters, but Ohio State is just too talented in the end. But I wouldn't be surprised if Washington does keep it close. LSU at Ole Miss. LSU is number 4. Ole Miss 13. Ole Miss is only a 1.5 point favorite right now. And honestly, the biggest question in this game for me: who is playing quarterback for Ole Miss? Is it Chambliss or is it Simmons? Because if it's Chambliss, I mean, I give Ole Miss a very good chance to win. But if it is Simmons, I mean, I definitely lean LSU in this one. Now they could still win against Chambliss, but I like Ole Miss's chances better with Chambliss than I do Simmons. Now, LSU's biggest win this year, Clemson. Not looking too hot right about now. Their other biggest win, Florida. Not looking too hot right now. They don't really have any big wins. Yes, it's Power 4 wins, still not big wins, just based on how those teams have been trending. Uh, Offense also has not looked great. Now, part of that could be maybe Nussmeier's a little injured, that sort of thing, but still hasn't been great. Run game non-existent yet again. Same story as last year. Defense has been solid though this year, so that's a plus. Now, I think if LSU wants to win this game, they actually need to try to run the ball for once, because Ole Miss has one of the worst run defenses in the country. So if you cannot and will not run it against Ole Miss, then it's a coaching issue, because there's absolutely no way that they can at least get some semblance of a run game going against this Ole Miss defense. If they get some sort of run game going, I think LSU wins this one no problem. If they don't, it's going to be tight. But give me LSU to win on the road. Auburn at number 9, Texas A&M. A&M is a 6.5 point favorite. I mean, I have a future right now in Texas A&M to make the playoffs. And if they can get past Auburn, it's a very winnable schedule. Florida, Arkansas, South Carolina, Samford, and then depending on how you feel about Mizzou and Mississippi State, that's 10 wins right there if you can win all those games. Um, we saw Notre Dame lose to Texas A&M last week, which was great for Texas A&M because that was probably that was one of the hardest games on the schedule. And he's been getting a lot of buzz after this game, and I mean, like I get it, but I didn't love Marcel Reed's game against Notre Dame. People were giving him so much praise, and I get it. You should. He deserves some. But 17 to 37 with some really bad throws did not impress me. And I think a lot of credit for his 360 yards should go to Craver, who had like 200 plus of those yards. Before I can fully buy in, well, I mean, I have a future on them, so I guess I have bought in. But before I can fully buy into Texas A&M being a playoff team, I need to see Marcel Reed have a better game than he did against Notre Dame. Now, statistically, Auburn's defense is better than Notre Dame, so we'll see how well he does throw against them. No one has been able to run on Auburn, which Texas A&M has a very good rushing attack. Um, but people have been able to move the ball a little bit against this Auburn defense through the air. Texas A&M has some dogs at their wide receiver position. I think Texas A&M, the defense is good enough to keep them in this game, even if Marcel Reed struggles and even if they can't get a run game going. But those wide receivers are going to dominate, I think, that Auburn secondary, and I think Texas A&M wins easily. I also don't think Jackson Arnold against this Texas A&M defense is going to be interesting because we just saw Oklahoma sack him 9 times. Now that's not all on the offensive line; that is some on him. I'm going to be interested to see how he does in this game. Um, UCLA at Northwestern. Northwestern is a 6.5 point favorite. Yuck. That's all I have to say on that game. Indiana at Iowa. Indiana is ranked 11th. Iowa is a 7.5 point dog at home. I mean, this is just going to be a bloodbath. Let's be honest. There's no way Iowa's offense is going to be able to do anything against Indiana. I'm sure Iowa's defense is going to make some stops, and so no, I do not think that Indiana is going to walk in and drop a 50 burger on Iowa. But I just think this is going to be an absolute bloodbath, and that Iowa does not stand a chance. And that 7.5 point underdogs at home, it actually feels right. Tennessee, 15 team in the country, heading to Mississippi State. Mississippi State 7.5 point dog at home. This is also, I guess, a trap game for Tennessee because we did see Tennessee lose to Arkansas last year in a game they had no business losing. Mississippi State is 4-0. Big win over Arizona State. And I know I said that my biggest prediction for Mississippi State is that they will win one more SEC game than they did last year. I'm going to take it a step further. They're going to make a bowl game this year. They just need 2 more wins. They play Florida and Arkansas. Both are very winnable games. Add in Ole Miss, who throughout the record books, that's a rivalry game. Ole Miss is beatable. Mississippi State might go bowling this year. Now, I don't think Mississippi State's going to win this game. They do struggle to stop the run, and Tennessee's got a great three-headed rushing attack. They might keep it close first half. This Tennessee team is too good. Defense still has some work, but this offense is going to be too good for Mississippi State. Moving on to the evening games. Arizona at Iowa State. Iowa State is a 6.5 point favorite at home. Surprisingly, Arizona is 3-0. Their defense has been great against bad teams. They completely shut down Kansas State, which is a bad team, but still. Noah Fafita, he's been fine. He played great against Weber State or Weber State, however you pronounce it. But he only played against Hawaii and Kansas State. I don't believe in Fafita enough to think that Arizona can pull off any sort of upset against Iowa State. I'm still not sold that Iowa State is as good as, their ranking. Actually, are they even ranked? I don't even remember what their ranking is. I don't think I put it in here. Iowa State's defense, it's going to be the best defense that Fafita has faced this year. He's already struggled against, like I said, Hawaii and Kansas State, who give credit to Hawaii. Their defense is better than I think people realize, and I do think Kansas State has a decent defense. They just let up too many explosives. So, yeah, give me Iowa State. I think it's going to be a relatively easy win for them. I don't think Arizona is going to be able to score much. We got 2 big games of the night, so we'll save those for the end. Number 25 BYU on the road at Colorado. Colorado is a 6.5 point dog at home. I guess Caden Salter's the QB again. He played well against Wyoming, so that's encouraging, I guess, if you're a Colorado fan, but it is Wyoming. Uh, BYU has absolutely dominated bad teams so far this year, which congrats to them. That's great. They allowed just one touchdown in all three games so far, and it came in the fourth quarter of their last game. They have a top 10 rushing attack. The run defense for Colorado, I think, is 123rd out of 136 teams. Yikes, that's not good. So that's a plus for BYU. BYU also has a top 25 pass defense, again, against bad teams. Colorado loves to throw the ball. And BYU has a pretty good defense, and Colorado allows a lot of pressure. I think BYU has not played anybody, and I think we can continue to say that after week 5. They still have not played anybody. I don't think Colorado has a shot. All right, we'll start with number 6 Oregon at number 3 Penn State. Penn State 3.5 point or favorites actually at home. Uh, Neither team has played anybody so far. Their opponents are combined 8 wins, 17 losses, and they have an average margin of victory of 40 points. That's just absolute domination from both teams. Um, it's hard to get a read on just how good either of these teams are. I will say Oregon has looked a lot better than I thought they would this year, and Penn State has not looked as good as I had hoped. Now, we all know James Franklin's record against top 10 teams. It's not good. Um, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. And even a blind squirrel finds a nut. I do think he wins this game. I think James Franklin gets off that losing streak. I think they beat Oregon. I think I think Oregon is still a very good team. Even if they lose this game, I still think they're a top 10 team. But I do think Penn State is going to be able to run the ball and does come away with the win in this one. All right, final big game of the night. Number 17, Alabama at number 5, Georgia. Georgia is a 2.5 point favorite at home. I mean, we saw, like we already talked about it, Alabama lost that first game of the season against Florida State terribly, but then they've looked dominant against ULM and Wisconsin, bad teams. But Ty Simpson has looked great the last 2 games. Jeremy Bernard has looked great the last 2 games. Ryan Williams went off against Wisconsin. Defense has absolutely shut down both of these teams. And honestly, no one has been able to throw in Alabama yet. Even Florida State didn't they didn't throw the ball at all. They threw like 14 total times. So we don't really know how great this pass defense is, I would say, as of yet. I think Georgia, after we saw what they can do against Tennessee, I think Georgia is going to challenge that Alabama secondary. When we look at Georgia, the defense, outside of take away the first quarter against Tennessee, they have been great. In that first quarter against Tennessee, they allowed 21 points and 230 yards of offense. Over the next 3 quarters and change because of overtime, 263 total yards and 20 points. Completely stifled that offense for a good chunk of the game after that. This Georgia defense is still good. It's still a Kirby Smart team. This is going to be, obviously, the best team that Alabama has faced so far, but this is not the best team that Georgia's faced so far. Give me Georgia in this one. All right, and then finishing off with my 5 favorite bets. Got 7 written down here. Let's see. All right, I'll give you your choice. My official one is going to be Minnesota -4.5 at -115. The other one I was debating was Minnesota Rutgers over 51.5 at -105. But the one that is officially going on the record is Minnesota covering the spread. Um, Give me Virginia Tech and NC State over 57.5 points at -110. I said it. Well, I said it not today, but the other day. North Carolina State overs are the trend going forward, and Virginia Tech has just as bad of a defense as North Carolina State. Give me the over in this one. Give me Tennessee first half over 17.5 at plus 102 against Mississippi State. I think this Tennessee offense is going to come out flying. I think they're going to score quickly a few times before Mississippi State settles in. Give me the over 17.5. And then I'm going to take Pitt plus 4.5. Like I mentioned, I think Pitt should be. I feel like Pitt should be favored in this one. So give me Pitt to cover. And then my final one, give me LSU over 27.5 points at minus 114. I just don't love Ole Miss's offense. I think this is a game that LSU could get right. Uh, their offense was flowing last week against Southeast Louisiana. I think keep that trend going, get it flowing against Ole Miss, and then we're going to have to watch out for LSU moving forward. And then for the Power 4 Moneyline Parlay, I have two written down here because I wasn't sure what 5 bets I was giving out, but since I gave out Pitt plus 4.5, I am taking Pitt out of the Moneyline Parlay, replacing them with Stanford. Yes, you heard me, Stanford. Give me LSU, Penn State, BYU, and Stanford all to win at plus 659. If you want to put in Pitt instead of Stanford, it comes out at plus 1044. But the official one is Stanford. Anyways, thank you all for joining me. This is going to be a very exciting week 5. So if you can clear your schedule, plop your ass on the couch because there's going to be a lot of good football this weekend. I will talk to you guys later this. Well, I'll talk to you guys next week to recap week 5.